Hi Crafty friend, it's me, Justine Dvorak. Today I'm going to show you how to stitch with the stitched ice cream cone. I am so excited about this one. This is one of my favorite stitched items that have come out for a long time now. And I made 4 cards in total, so if you watch some of my other videos, you'll catch them all. Alright, you can see here I have already done some ink blending on the edges, and I'm going to go in with some metallic thread and start stitching. When I stitch, I like to use Thread Magic, and I will just tape my edge of my thread down with some Best Ever craft tape. Nothing fancy. This is just kind of what works really well for me. And for this die, no one will ever see the tape once it's on the card, so that's what I decided to go with. Now, if you are a complete beginner and are looking for some major tips and tricks and such for how to stitch, make sure you check out my stitched playlist. I have a Stitching 101 playlist, 2 longer videos that show you exactly how to stitch. So I will link those in the description of this video and you can check those out. For the ice cream cone, I have found that with this one, I like to stitch all in one direction and then go the other way. So I am just going across my ice cream cone. Oops, got the flower there. But I'm going completely across and just following the lines that are already there on the paper from the die. And I found that this is pretty simple, and once I'm finished making the cross hatches on here, what I've done on other cards is go back and do a little stitch around the edge to kind of give it a nice border. But for this, because I had ink blended before I stitched, I thought that it already had a nice curve to the ice cream cone. So I did not go back and do that extra stitching, but you certainly could. Now this metallic thread is quite bouncy, so I like to hold it with my other hand down just to make sure everything is staying put. But using that Thread Magic definitely helps kind of create a little more texture on the thread and hold it in place. Now you can see me finishing up the first area, and then I'm going to go back completely in the other direction, and I'll start on the corner and just work my way back. It really is a pretty fun finished result for not too long of a time for stitching. This really creates some stitched elements pretty quickly. I'd say that I am basically an expert with stitching, so I think it took me about a half an hour altogether to die cut, ink blend, and stitch everything, but it certainly would not take you that much longer if you were a beginner, in my opinion. You know, it's something that comes with time, just like anything. The more you practice, the better that you will get at it. So I would encourage you to try it out and enjoy. And now this die is actually one of those dies where you could just leave the stitching out. So if you get the caboodle and you're thinking, well, what do I even do with this? You don't have to add the stitched element, like the holes on there. You could just die cut out the ice cream without the holes. So that is an option with this die. I think that that was pretty generous of Spellbinders to give that option. It really just stretches out this die set even more. So I finished with a little piece of tape, give it a little snip, and I'll move on to the next part, which is the top part of the cone. Ooh, that looks so cute, doesn't it? Okay. Now, I like to have that background, that brown background for my ice cream, because when I put it on my background, all the little holes will be basically little windows. And instead of having my beautiful background pop through those tiny holes, I'm having that brown paper rest behind there and just give a kind of a finished, intentional look, if you will, to the background. So now I'm going to start the top part of the cone, and this part is just simply going back and forth. It is really quite simple. You just have to follow the lines that are already on the die. I really enjoy that Spellbinders does that for us, so it makes it kind of the guesswork out of it, if you will. But if you have any questions with stitching, please let me know in the comments. I can try to help you as best as I can. And just do my best, I guess. I don't know. So you can see my background there. I'll just chat about that as I go. I am going to zoom in here really quickly so you can see what I am stitching. But my background, I have the 3D embossing folder of the month, and I just did some ink blending on that with some Simon Hurley inks. I think I used Prom Queen, Squeeze something, and then in the middle is just blending those two together. I will grab the color for that yellow as I continue stitching there, but I also added beautiful flowers from the Bayfair collection. Let's see, Shooting Star, that's the color, the yellow. But the Bayfair flowers were called the Floral Spray Edge Dyes, and I layered those up and ink blended and made some really fun focal point flowers for my ice cream cone to go around. And this card turns out to be so screaming summer, if you will. So I am just thrilled with how this turned out. All the ink blending, die cutting, the stitching, everything just is very me, and I love it. And you can kind of tell the leaves are kind of hanging off of the card, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. All right, I'm almost done with this top part. You can see I'm just going in and out, just stitching away. It's really not too bad on this month's clubs, if I can hold my needle right. There we go. And then I'll just finish this off with another piece of tape. Let me know in the comments if you have stitched and ink blended your stitched elements before. I think it really takes everything that much over the top and makes it look so cool when it is done, and I just loved doing it on this card. I think with the future stitched cards I will try to do that again, but how fun would this ice cream cone be with last month's stitched pineapple? Now that I'm looking at these colors, I think that that would be kind of fun to add in there. If you caught my video from June 1st, I showed you a card that had 3 of the ice cream on top. So that was really fun to layer up the different flavors, if you will, of the ice cream and really make some tall ice cream cones. So if you're into slim lines, this would be really fun for you. I chose to do a 5x7 style. So to me, I really liked the way that that card turned out. Again, it's another dramatic looking card. I've been kind of leaning into that drama, thick layers of flowers and inks and just kind of being a little over the top and kind of enjoying that. All right, you can see I have this glitter paper here, so gorgeous. Again, I'm taping it down. To me, that's the easiest way to start. I'm going to go from the outside into the center hole and work my way all around the scoop. You could go the other way, but I find that with dies that have a lot of thread going into one hole, if you can take your needle and punch down through the top, down, the thread ends up, first of all, not knotting as much, but it also pushes down the thread to the center, so you have a very clean circle on the top. But if you were to come up through the center, it sometimes can push the thread up with that sharp needle. So just kind of be careful. I say sharp because the needle I use is sharp, but you certainly could use a tapestry style needle, which has a very blunt tip, so you would not be poking yourself as much as I do, but it does happen. Look how quick this is. This is super fast to make these little stitch scoops. I think this would be so fun to do with kids. So if you have kids in your life, grandkids, nieces, nephews, whoever, pop this into the die cutting machine and make some ice cream cones. Now you can see here my thread was almost too short and I just barely squeaked by and made it work. Oh, love that. It is so satisfying to have a piece of thread that is exactly the right size. I don't know how that happened, but it did. All right, I'm going to put this little lady together with some liquid glue and finish it off with a lot of sentiments. You can see I have 3 sentiments there. Yeah, 3. So whenever I add liquid glue like this, I just kind of hold it. You could put it under something like, I don't know, if you have a scout or a stamp position tool, you can put it under something, but with these stitched elements, they are a little bit bulky. You could also use foam squares or foam tape and get kind of a pop-up result. Oh, look at that sweet little mouser on the back. That one did not stamp perfectly, so instead of throwing this piece of paper away, I turned it into this card. So goodbye little mouse, and hello ice cream cone. Speaking of hello, I chose to use the sentiment hello, there is nothing better than ice cream and you for the outside of this card. And then I'm going to fuss around with these flowers for a little bit, but I will put in the sentiment sending a sunny hello, which is a better press sentiment that I chose to glimmer. And I used some Spellbinders cardstock for that, and I'm going to pop that on the inside of the card. So if you didn't know, PSA, there are still people who don't know, you can glimmer with your better press plates. I'll say that again. If you have a better press plate, you can press with it and you can glimmer with it. It is fantastic. It's a 2-for-1. I am a better press babe and I love the better press. So I gotta say it because it's that good. So there you have it. To finish off these beautiful flowers, I'm going to add my favorite, yes, my favorite pack of gems from Spellbinders. These are the Crystal Mix. And I'm going to use the Spectrum AB on the Crystal Mix, and this really just gives a sparkly little finish to these flowers. I thought about adding sprinkles to my ice cream cone, but I thought that this one was already a little over the top, so I did hold back a little bit on this one. Anyway, I'd love to invite you to my Facebook group. I run a Facebook group called the Spellbinders Maker Group where you can get ideas and share your ideas with other crafters. So be on the lookout for the link for that in the description, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye, crafty friend.